You swipe your smartphone screen countless times today, without a second thought. It's just there in your hand, fully functional, yet utterly invisible in its ubiquity. Glass surrounds you, from windows and car windshields to the screens of devices you glance at every day. But somewhere a very long time ago, humans began crafting this essential material.
The oldest known glass artifacts were unearthed in Egypt, dating back to about 1500 BCE.
These early creations mark the beginning of a human fascination that has spanned millennia. Consider an intriguing revelation. The concept of glass may have originated by accident.
The earliest glassmakers likely stumbled upon it while working with ceramics.
The theory is that sand mixed with soda and plants and was subsequently exposed to the high temperatures of a kiln, resulting in a glass-like material. Researchers suggest that this unintentional discovery led artisans to experiment further, gradually refining their techniques to create the transparent glass we recognize today. By around 1400 BCE, glass was being used to create small cosmetic jars in Egypt, measuring up to 12 centimeters tall, indicating a rapid evolution in technique. These jars were primarily used to hold oils and perfumes, commodities that were highly valued at the time. By 1300 BCE, evidence of larger glass applications such as decorative tiles measuring up to 30 centimeters in length began to appear, showcasing the expanding functional and aesthetic uses of glass. So, how did this glass-making process first come about, and why did it spread so widely?
The first concept we need to unpack is vitreous texture. This refers to the smooth, non-crystalline structure of glass, which sets it apart from other solid materials. Imagine the early days when craftsmen noticed this unique texture in their fire pit remnants. In Egypt, for example, glass beads from 1350 BCE show signs of having been made by winding molten glass around a metal rod. These beads measure just a few millimeters in diameter, yet their smooth texture was revolutionary for that time. Another example comes from ancient Mesopotamia, where glass was fashioned into small vessels, such as cups and jars, by around 1500 BCE. These objects often held precious oils or perfumes, a practice that highlights the material's early value and utility. They reveal a consistent technique in achieving this vitreous texture, with some vessels holding as much as half a liter of liquid. The uniform smooth surface was not only visually appealing, but also practical, as it allowed easy cleaning and preservation of contents. But how could something so delicate as glass survive millennia? One would think that glass, being fragile, would not last long enough for us to find. Archaeologists have uncovered numerous glass artifacts in astonishingly good condition. This durability is due to the chemical stability of silica. The primary component of most glass, silica forms a strong, stable network that resists weathering and degradation, preserving these ancient treasures for us to study today. In particular, the desert climate of Egypt, with its dry conditions, has proven ideal for the preservation of glass, allowing us to piece together the history of glassmaking. The rate of degradation in such conditions is so low that even after thousands of years, these artifacts remain remarkably intact. Could this durability explain why glassmaking techniques spread so rapidly across cultures? It certainly contributed to the appeal of glass, as communities could produce something both beautiful and enduring. How did these early methods evolve into more sophisticated glassmaking techniques? Enter the concept of glassblowing, which dramatically transformed the way glass was made. This technique originated in the 1st century BCE in the Eastern Mediterranean. Artisans discovered that by blowing into a molten blob of glass using a long metal tube, they could create a wide variety of shapes quickly and efficiently. The glassblowing revolution can be illustrated by the stunningly detailed Roman glass vessels, some as large as 30 centimeters in height.
The average production time for a vessel decreased from several hours to just under an hour, showcasing the efficiency gained through this technique. The speed and versatility of glassblowing allowed for the production of more than just vessels. It enabled the creation of large-scale windows and even early mirrors, which transformed architectural design. These complex designs would have been impossible using earlier methods, showcasing how this innovation expanded artistic expression and practical utility.
The efficiency and creativity of glassblowing made it a preferred method for artisans who aimed to meet both utilitarian and artistic demands. Yet not all regions adopted glassblowing immediately. In places like China, the practice didn't take hold until later centuries. Instead, Chinese artisans focused on perfecting the art of casting glass, a technique that offered its own unique beauty and complexity. The meticulous process involved pouring molten glass into molds, producing items that were often thicker and more ornate. The process could take up to several days to complete, depending on the intricacies of the design, with some objects requiring multiple firings to achieve the desired outcome. It's a fascinating divergence, highlighting how cultural factors influence the adoption of technology. Why, then, did glassblowing become the dominant method in most of the ancient world? Its speed and efficiency were key. The ability to quickly produce detailed designs without the lengthy process of casting was a major advantage that appealed to growing markets and changing demands. This raises the puzzle of why glassblowing seemed to leapfrog over other techniques in terms of popularity. Let's examine material accessibility, a critical factor in the spread of glass. The basic ingredients for glass, silica, soda, and lime, are found almost everywhere on Earth. This abundance made glass an attractive material for artisans in various regions, facilitating its widespread use. In Egypt and Mesopotamia, for example, the availability of these materials enabled the large-scale production of glass objects by around 1200 BCE. During this period, workshops could produce several dozen objects per day, underscoring the efficiency in production. In Italy, during the height of the Roman Empire, glass workshops could rapidly produce everything from simple window panes to complex vessels, contributing to the material's ubiquity. These mosaics often depicted detailed scenes and vibrant colors, showcasing the artistic potential of glass. Notably, the Roman glass industry employed thousands of workers, emphasizing the economic importance of glass production. Interestingly, in regions where certain ingredients were scarce, glass production either halted or evolved differently. In parts of the Americas, for instance, indigenous peoples did not develop glassmaking, due in part to the absence of soda-rich plants needed for its production. Instead, they excelled in other materials like obsidian for tools. They crafted razor-sharp blades and complex ceremonial pieces from volcanic glass, highlighting their resourcefulness. Some obsidian blades, for example, could achieve an edge sharper than modern surgical steel. The reliance on obsidian exemplifies how different materials shaped technological paths depending on local resources. So, what drove the continuous innovation of glass production where it did thrive? Why did some cultures continuously innovate despite these limitations? Now consider cultural demand, a major driving force behind glass innovation. In ancient Rome, for instance, the affluent class's desire for luxurious items spurred artisans to experiment with designs and colors, creating exquisite glassware. Some Roman glass pieces were so prized that they were buried with their owners, serving as status symbols even in the afterlife. These artifacts often included complex patterns and vibrant colors, achieved through the addition of metallic oxides. Roman glassmakers would use up to 20 different shades to create a single piece, showcasing their expertise. The use of decorative techniques like millefiori and cameo glass added layers of visual complexity and prestige to their craft. Contrast this with the ancient Egyptians, who valued glass primarily for its use in jewelry and small decorative items. Egyptian glassmakers achieved remarkable color variations and were known for their use of opaque glass to imitate precious stones. They created replicas of lapis lazuli and turquoise, which adorned the jewelry of pharaohs and nobility. These cultural preferences dictated not only what types of glass were produced, but also how techniques were refined. Egyptian artisans often used molds to replicate the detailed aspects of actual gemstones. This focus on color and imitation points to the symbolic and aesthetic roles glass played in Egyptian society. What does this tell us about the role of glass in social and economic structures? How did glass become integral to both social identity and economic exchange? Lastly, consider technological adaptation, the subtle adjustments that transformed glassmaking into an art form. As society's needs changed, so did the methods of glass production. In the Middle Ages, for example, the demand for stained glass in cathedrals led to significant innovations in color and technique. European artisans developed methods to produce large sheets of colored glass, which were then crafted into elaborate windows, some towering over 10 meters high. These masterpieces not only told religious stories, but also displayed the wealth and power of the patrons who commissioned them. The complexity of these windows required new skills in glass cutting and lead framing, pushing the boundaries of what was technically feasible. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, glassmakers developed techniques to infuse glass with complex patterns and calligraphy. Items like mosque lamps and drinking vessels were often adorned with gold and vivid enamels. The combination of delicate patterns and vibrant colors not only enhanced the visual appeal, but also conveyed spiritual and cultural messages. Each piece could take weeks to complete, highlighting the meticulous skill involved. These innovations illustrate how glass, while functional, also became a vehicle for cultural expression. How does this creative evolution reflect human ingenuity and adaptability? How did glass evolve from a utilitarian material to a canvas for human expression? Another key concept is thermal resilience. This term refers to glass's ability to withstand significant temperature changes, a property that became crucial in its technological applications. When Roman engineers began using glass in bathhouses around the 1st century CE, they discovered it could endure the intense heat and steam without shattering, thanks to its high melting point of around 1400 degrees Celsius. This resilience made glass an essential component in other high-temperature environments, like ovens and later, scientific laboratories during the Renaissance, where precision was necessary for experimentation. However, thermal resilience wasn't always perfect. In colder climates, like Northern Europe, the contraction of glass in freezing temperatures often led to breakage. This was mitigated by improving the composition of glass to enhance its durability, which in turn expanded its uses across different regions. By adding boron to the mix, creating borosilicate glass, the material's resistance to thermal shock was increased, paving the way for its use in scientific apparatus and cookware. Borosilicate glass could withstand rapid temperature changes of over 200 degrees Celsius, revolutionizing its industrial use. This innovation allowed glass to be used in environments from kitchen ovens to laboratories where rapid temperature changes are common. As glass became more resilient, it opened new avenues for innovation, from architecture to science. What does this adaptability teach us about the evolution of glass technology? Could the adaptability of glass to various environmental conditions be a factor in its lasting prominence? Consider optical clarity, another transformative trait of glass that shaped its historical roles. This quality refers to the transparency and light transmission capabilities of glass, which have been pivotal in both art and science. By the 13th century, Venetian glassmakers had perfected techniques to create exceptionally clear glass, known as cristallo, which became highly sought after for its aesthetic purity. This clarity allowed the creation of lenses, leading to the development of spectacles around 1280 in Italy, significantly enhancing vision for those with sight impairments. A complication arose with the issue of color impurities, which occasionally reduced clarity. This was resolved by refining the glassmaking process, removing iron impurities to achieve colorless glass. Venetian glassmakers developed methods of filtration that could reduce impurities to less than 1% of the glass composition. As optical clarity improved, it paved the way for critical scientific instruments, like the telescope and microscope, revolutionizing our understanding of the universe. The lenses of Galileo's telescopes allowed for observations that supported the heliocentric models of the cosmos. The advancement of optical clarity ultimately expanded the boundaries of scientific inquiry and understanding. How did the pursuit of clearer glass lead to advancements that changed human perception? In what ways did the refinement of optical clarity in glass redefine its utility in society? The evolution of glass from accidental discovery to a fundamental part of human civilization demonstrates the unyielding human spirit of discovery and adaptation. It's incredible to think that the same material used in ancient beads and jars is now a cornerstone of modern technology. So the next time you glance through a window or tap your phone, remember that this transparent marvel is not just a medium, but a message, a link stretching back thousands of years, connecting our past innovations to the world we live in today.